What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Life Creative. I got such good feedback from you all regarding the video versions of this podcast, or I guess now videocast. We're just going to call it The Life Creative and leave it at that. That I'm going to pursue that further. So hopefully we're going to see an improvement in the quality in this one. This is going to be something I'm sure that will improve over time as I play around with different things and try it out. Should be a lot better video quality this time around. So thank you for your feedback on that. And I think it's appropriate for this podcast or videocast, or as I'm just going to call it from now on, The Life Creative, because so many of these are visual elements that I think that having a video version, should you choose to watch it, is up to you. And the audio version supplies both, so both perspectives, right? If there's something that I'm talking about that's very visual, it gives me a way to put that on the screen for you when we're talking about it. So that's an avenue I'm going to be looking at. That's kind of a quick update for you there. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the decisions that you make when you're merging projects together. And I'm going to give you an example here from something that I've been doing for the last week. I have been taking one of my websites and incorporating it into one of my older websites, the content in particular. So what am I talking about here? Well, my peterwitham.com website is based on a Jamstack, right? It's what we call a static site. You don't need to worry about the details on that. There's just a lot of files involved. And the original older site that's been around for years was based on WordPress, a very popular thing on the internet. You may or may not have heard of it. And that uses a database as the backend. So what I've been doing is incorporating all of the content from 2020 and 2021 that I've done so far into that backend on the database, because I stopped using it at the end of 2019, basically. Now, not only does it take it a long time to bring all of that content in and update a lot of the old content that I've been working on, and that in itself is very enlightening and something I should talk about sometime, going back and looking at your very old stuff and the things you learn that you can now apply to that older stuff to make it better. But one of the problems that you encounter when you're merging websites together is people are used to, there's a URL for a particular article that you've written, a particular video, something like that. And when you bring it over to another site, that URL may well change, even though you may shift the domain name. So without getting technical here, I'm going to give you an example. If you went to say, and this, I don't believe this exists, but if you went to peterwitham.com/video/ I don't know, Fujifilm camera, something like that. Doesn't exist, so don't go looking for it. When I move that to another website and I move over the peterwitham.com domain, that URL that people may have bookmarked won't exist unless I fix it accordingly that it does exist. Now, that's okay to do if you don't have a lot of content, but considering that this site has some 400 odd posts, it's really not practical for me to spend all the time going back and editing all of those posts. And part of the reason for that is because, firstly, it's very time consuming. Secondly, a lot of those posts may not be valid anymore. And thirdly, I know from looking at my data, and if you followed some other episodes where I told you to go look at your data and learn from it, I know some of those blog posts barely get any visitors. Some may not even get visitors at all. So is it really worth my time to go and update all the URLs for those posts? And the answer is no, probably not. Now, immediately you might be thinking, but hang on a minute, Peter, you're going to lose people visiting those URLs. At first, yes, I will. But the thing you got to remember is we're thinking about this because it's our content. Other people are not going to be so focused on this. And most people find things by, using a search engine. And eventually those search engines will remap those old non-existent locations, those URLs, to the newer updated ones for you in their database. It won't happen overnight probably, but it will happen at some point. So that's going to take care of that for you. So don't obsess about the things that maybe don't need your time and attention. What I would recommend and what I'm doing is, again, looking at my data, saying which of these are the really popular posts. Okay, I should really make those URLs work for the old site and for the new site, because that's the hot content, right? And that's the one that's going to do better in search engines. It's going to do better. People have probably got bookmarks. They're telling their friends about them. These are all the things that matter and these are the posts that matter for that. Now, if you're really lucky, that's still a lot of posts. Okay, but it's worth your time because those get a lot of traffic. The ones that don't, or the ones that are dated in some way, for example, you may be writing about a conference like I did, say the Apple Developer Conference that took place back in 2019, something like that. Well, probably no one's reading that, and it's more of a historical reference at this point. So I don't really need to worry about mapping the old and the new URLs together. That's just not something that matters, and it's not worth all of my time and my effort doing that. So that's my advice for this episode is when you're making a shift in a project and you know it's going to have an effect somewhere along the way for an end user, really think about, a couple of priorities. Number one, what do I really need to update and make sure works from the old to the new? Number two, what will automatically be updated for me? For example, search engine listings, those will automatically be updated for you. And number three, what are the ones that I can just leave? And if people really want to find that, eventually it's going to appear in the search engine with the right URL, or they're going to dig through my site looking for it, right? So those are three sort of takeaways for you here from this week of me working on this old content. Hope this has given you something to think about. And there's going to be a lot more of this kind of stuff going forward. And I'm also thinking about different content now that I've opened up this opportunity for video. And I'm going to be probably talking about some of my photographs, some of that kind of stuff, some more instructional stuff that will give you a visual element. Again, it's going to be structured in such a way that if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, it's going to work for you as well. I'm going to make it work for both. I want to give you the option because I know for some things I want to see video, for others I can just listen to it while I'm doing whatever, and which is the beauty of podcasts, right? So with that, that's it for this episode. Take care of yourselves. Reach out to me, peterwhittam.com. I'll see you in the next one.